Lymm. Although this quiet Cheshire village may seem like any other, there are many things about Lymm you may not know. The Brazilian World Cup team, including the legendary Pelé, stayed in Lymm during the World Cup in 1966. Lymm is home to Matthew Corbett, who is famous for putting his hand inside a toy bear. And Lymm has been home to numerous musicians, footballers and soap stars. However, over the last few years, Lymm has become well known for another reason, having some of the highest house price rises outside of the capital. UK house prices have been on the rise for a number of years and are showing no signs of slowing. This gives rise to many questions, like can people on today's average wage afford today's average house prices? What are the government and local councils doing to help? And is having a roof over your head a basic human right, or is it acceptable that it has become another investment opportunity? Hopefully we can find some answers.
The house price index.
House prices.
It's trebled in 10 years.
40,000 new homes here.
Shared ownership scheme.
House prices
Have gone up by 187%.
In a 2006 survey, 81% of people thought the government could have done more to prevent the current house price boom. And only 11% thought that the Labour Party best represented the interests of first-time buyers. The UK population is over 60.5 million people, and with most forecasters predicting that it should reach the 70 million mark by the year 2050, the government have a problem. The official number of homeless people in the UK is 10,459 rough sleepers, with 98,750 people in temporary accommodation. These figures can be deceiving though, as the definition of being homeless was changed in 1991. Anyone who has lost a house due to not being able to keep up with mortgage payments will usually be deemed intentionally homeless by the local council, and not entered into these figures.
Leeds would like us to believe that poverty and homelessness are things of the past in its well-heeled streets. In fact, the latest local government figures suggest there's just one single person sleeping rough in a city of 700,000. Suspicious? So were we.
This considered, figures at the last census would lead us to believe that there are more practicing Jedis in the UK than homeless people. I'll let you make up your own mind, but when did you last get stopped in the street and asked for your change by a Jedi? This basically means that if we already had a surplus of homeless people, and the population keeps increasing due to immigration exceeding emigration, then we will need more homes. This is a problem that has been recognised by Deputy Prime Minister John Prescott. Labour's initial ideas to remedy the situation was inner city development, however this quickly turned into greenbelt development, with the realisation that there was more money to be made building on the outskirts of affluent villages. We visited local councillor Sheila Woodgett to get her views. How long have you lived in Lymm?
In Lymm itself, 48 years in September.
Right.
My husband's lived here longer, he's lived here 73 years, so almost accepted as local.
You must have seen quite a lot of changes to the village.
Dramatic change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you make of the housing developments in Lymm?
Well, you can't stop progress, therefore there's got to be some development. Sadly, Lymm has suffered from overdevelopment, and that's partly because of the change in government policy. I think had the new estates that we've had 900 houses in the last 3-4 years, and I think if those had been on the same ratio per acre as we've had in the past, it wouldn't have had the effect it has. And that means in order to fit the houses on, you've got to go up, which is why we've got all this 3-storey development in there, which is totally out of character.
Yeah.
And it urbanises what was a very nice village. But the planning legislation in this country is, and always has been, geared to the applicant and the developer rather than to the ordinary person. Now, the housing in Lymm that we talked about, all the major housing developments in Lymm were in fact refused by the planning committee, but were won on appeal. And this is the frustrating thing, that you can win a battle but lose the war.
Are the council and developers concerned about pushing young people away?
I don't think the developers give a damn, quite frankly.
Yeah.
The council is obviously very concerned, and it's concerning for local communities, particularly a place like Lymm, which is, well, it was a village, I mean it's almost a small town now, but it's quite a close-knit community, and very few of the Lymm born and bred kids can afford to get properties.
In that respect, do you think that the developments have spoiled Lymm's qualities?
Yes, I do really, but there isn't really a solution. Well, actually there is a solution to all the problems in Lymm. We knock it down and start again.
When looking at house prices, it is important to compare them to people's earnings. Figures show that the average house price now costs around 6 times the average wage, and 9 times the average wage in London. The typical age of a first-time buyer is 33 years old, and it takes people over 4 years to save up the average £24,000 deposit required. Almost half of all first-time buyers require some sort of parental help when purchasing their home. This means people who have paid for their houses end up helping their children get on the property ladder, and can also become saddled with debts into their retirement. It makes sense that as the deposits required for first-time buyers increases, the number of first-time buyers decreases. The number of first-time buyers is now at a 25-year low, and over 85% of towns in Britain are unaffordable for first-time buyers. This brings us on to mortgages. Even if you can fight your way through all the different types of mortgages on offer, lending in the UK has become easier to do and more difficult to pay back. Mortgage lenders are willing to lend more money than ever to first-time buyers. This means not only do they have more debt, any sudden increase in interest rates could lead to payments becoming unaffordable and houses being repossessed. We decided to take to the streets and find out what the people of Lymm thought about the developments.